Before I begin the reading of the second part of Chapter 3 of Spiritual Ministration, I beg the indulgence of the audience while I editorialize for a few moments. For those who have been with me for the last few readings, you find that they describe the greatness, strength of character, and the many, many great qualities of Sri Sivabalayogi Maharaj. To those who think I am biased when I say this, I have only this to say. All the media of description, all the words and languages in the universe are not enough to describe the true greatness of a guru who frees you from the sorrows of material life. How can I, with my many inadequacies, hope to convey Swamiji's greatness? But I digress. The next reading describes the time in Swamiji's tapas when things got extremely difficult. However, for all our sakes, he persisted through the suffering. He truly exemplifies in this chapter the attitude of either you become a yogi or you die. I hope this reading can inspire more people to take on and stay on the path of meditation, as it inspires me daily. Without further ado, I will now begin to read Chapter 3, Spiritual Ministration, Tapas of the Four Directions. Yuga Tapas, Dik Tapas, and Dik Siddhi. According to the Yoga Shastra, a period of 12 years is known as a Yuga Parva, and Yuga Tapas entails doing tapas for a full 12 years. During the course of this Yuga Tapas, a yogi is required to do tapas facing each of the four directions in turn. This is known as Dik Tapas. Each particular direction has its own specific mantra which is repeated when doing tapas of that direction. The tapas of a particular direction is to be continued until Siddhi is attained. This is known as Dik Siddhi. The peculiarities of tapas of each of the four directions are summarized very briefly below. A. Eastern direction. When doing tapas of this direction, the yogi has to face problems and difficulties, but these are comparatively speaking of a minor nature. Siddhi is gained soonest by doing tapas facing east. Northern direction. This is the best direction from the point of view of ease of dhyana. The yogi faces little or no problems or obstacles, enjoys good health and experiences Anand or bliss during dhyana. Western direction. This is the most difficult direction for doing tapas and is fraught with danger. The yogi has to cope with seemingly insuperable mental obstacles and or endure almost unbearable physical afflictions. In addition, he is also subjected to severe tests. Southern direction. This is a neutral direction having no particular benefits or obstacles. Dhyana continues normally, there being neither ananda or ashanti, or lack of peace. Tapas and Siddhi of the eastern direction. During the initial few years, the divine guru gave no formal instructions to his disciples to sit facing toward any particular direction. However, as a result of his unspoken will, it soon came to pass that the Balayogi sat facing east for the first 4 years of his tapas. That is from 7th August 1949 to 28th October 1953. Consequently, when the Balayogi attained Siddhi on 28th October 1953, he also attained the Dik Siddhi of the eastern direction. Tapas of the northern direction. At midnight on 29th October 1953, the Divine Guru again appeared before the Balayogi. The Balayogi recounted to his Guru all that had transpired the previous night, the darshan he had of Shankar Bhagavan and the conversation that took place between him and Bhagavan. The Guru appeared well pleased with all that he heard. He then told the Balayogi that as he had acquired the Siddhi of the eastern direction, he must now resume tapas facing north. He instructed him to discontinue japa of the Panchakshari mantra and imparted to him a new mantra appropriate for tapas of the northern direction. That apart, he instructed the Balayogi to observe Mauna from that day onward. Having thus initiated him into tapas of the northern direction, the Guru disappeared. One of the results of gaining Siddhi of the Panchakshari mantra was that the Balayogi as of that day became immune to the venom of snakes and other poisonous creatures. He experienced a dramatic demonstration of this beneficial effect shortly after he commenced tapas of the northern direction. One night while he was proceeding to the well for his usual midnight bath, a nag or cobra bit him in the leg and stuck to it. Undaunted, the Balayogi pulled the snake away and threw it to one side. This time, notwithstanding the vicious nature of the bite, the venom injected by the serpent had no effect, and he continued his tapas undisturbed. Surya Sakshatkara and visit to Surya Mandal. As recounted earlier from the Kartika Purnima of 1952, the Balayogi, with the approval of his Guru, had been doing japa of the Surya mantra for 2 hours daily. This continued for almost 2 years. Then in the month of Kartik, October 1954, the Divine Guru appeared one night on one of his periodic visits and told the Balayogi that his japa of the Surya mantra would soon bear fruit and that 10 days hence Surya Dev would manifest before him. And so it came to pass on the Kartik Purnima of 1954. The Balayogi had Sakshatkara of Surya Dev and thereby gained Siddhi of the Surya mantra. The next night, the Divine Guru appeared again, and as was his wont, the Balayogi recounted to him the happenings of the previous night. After that, on a sudden impulse, the Balayogi asked his Guru if he could take him to the Surya Mandal or sphere of the sun. He wanted to see what it was like. The Guru readily agreed to take him there. Before starting, he instructed the Balayogi to close his eyes and not to open them until he, the Guru, told him to do so. The Balayogi thereupon closed his eyes. In no time at all, it seemed, the Guru told him to open his eyes again. When the Balayogi did so, he found himself looking down a landscape very similar to that of earth. He saw mountains clothed in forests and interspersed by rivers and river valleys. He also remembered having seen some of the mountain peaks covered with snow. After a brief sojourn, he asked to be taken back. However, for the return journey, he did not close his eyes. The Divine Guru made the Balayogi sit on the palm of his hand and then shot back towards earth with almost the speed of thought. On the way back, he had to pass through the blazing orb of the sun. They flashed past in the fraction of a second, but the heat was so intense that the Balayogi felt that he would have been reduced to a cinder had it not been for the protection of his Divine Guru. Notwithstanding this protection, and even though the exposure to the fiery orb was for the briefest possible time, the Balayogi suffered intensely from the heat. Therefore, in order to give his disciple relief, the Divine Guru gave him a dip in every river that they happened to cross in both the astral sphere as also on earth. As the Balayogi had never so far travelled away from home, he did not recognize any of these rivers. The only river he recognized was the Godavari when they dipped in it near Rajamundri. This process of bathing in all the rivers that they passed appears to have established a precedent, because ever since then, Sri Swamiji, as the Balayogi is now called, cannot resist having a dip in any and every river that he happens to cross over. Recalling this experience in later years, after he had completed the full 12 years tapas, Sri Swamiji said, "It is possible in the state of Samadhi to travel to the Surya Mandal and return alive. This is my own experience. Those wishing to achieve this can do so by practicing dhyana." In the same context, he cautioned those who aspire solely for such experiences that people should strive for Atma Jnana or self-knowledge, and they should strive to know themselves in their true nature, which alone will bring peace to the world. Sakshatkara or Siddhi of the northern direction. The tapas facing north proceeded apace. During this entire period, the Balayogi enjoyed good health and experienced great bliss during Samadhi. Around 15th July 1955, the Balayogi once again went into deep Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which continued without a break for 15 days. On the night of 1st August 1955, the Balayogi had once again had Sakshatkara of Shankar Bhagavan, and thus attained Siddhi of the northern direction. As on the previous occasion, Shankar Bhagavan conversed with the Balayogi for some time. Before leaving, Shiva asked him if he wanted anything, but the Balayogi replied that he desired nothing. Bhagavan then disappeared. Tapas of the western direction. Though the Balayogi attained Sakshatkara and Siddhi of the northern direction on 1st August 1955, his Guru did not appear immediately to give fresh directions for the continuance of the tapas. Knowing the rigors that lay ahead, the Guru apparently wanted his disciple to rest and recoup for a few days before starting on the next phase of tapas. So the Balayogi had a break and rest from 1st to 6th August 1955. On the midnight of 7th August 1955, the Divine Guru appeared again. He informed his disciple that in the next phase he would be required to do tapas facing west. He warned the Balayogi that he would have to face many difficulties and obstacles in this phase of tapas, which may at times be severe, but he should not lose heart and must on no account give up. He then reassured his disciple that whenever he needed help, he, the Guru, would come to his assistance. Finally, he imparted to the Balayogi the appropriate mantra for tapas in the western direction, and with a parting of good cheer, the Divine Guru disappeared. When he warned his disciples about the dangers that lay ahead, the Divine Guru was reiterating and reaffirming the warnings contained in the scriptures about the dangers and difficulties that lie in store for a yogi who undertakes tapas of the western direction. Many well-known tapasvis have come to grief when doing tapas of the western direction. The best known instance of this being the great sage Vishwamitra, for it is said that it was while doing tapas of the western direction that the Apsara Menaka seduced Vishwamitra and thereby succeeded in making him break off his tapas. Be that as it may, the Balayogi got a foretaste of what was in store for him on the very next day of his starting the tapas, for suddenly and inexplicably he developed a severe stomachache. Then, as if this was not bad enough, he was once again afflicted by the burning sensation he had experienced earlier. Agonizing as they were, these were only the beginning of a series of bodily afflictions that the Balayogi would have to suffer almost continuously throughout the entire period of this phase of his tapas. On 15th August 1955, i.e. within 8 days of the commencement of the western tapas, the cow that had been so far providing milk for the Balayogi suddenly died. A new cow was bought, but that too died within the next 15 days. As soon as a cow would be bought for the Balayogi, or any cow whose milk would be procured for the Balayogi, would die. This posed a big problem, as the only nourishment that the Balayogi was taking was a measured quantity of milk once a day at midnight. To compound this problem, the Balayogi soon developed nausea for milk and would immediately throw up any milk that he tried to consume. As a consequence, he was soon reduced to carrying on his rigorous tapas without any nourishment at all. Obviously, the state of affairs could not continue for long. Some way had to be found out of this impasse, and that too soon, else the Balayogi was unlikely to survive for long. The dilemma was finally resolved by D. Sillayamma, the wife of D. Ramakrishna Reddy, who hit upon the idea of substituting Horlicks in place of the daily glass of fresh milk. When this was tried, to the immense relief of all his devotees, the Balayogi was able to consume the glass of Horlicks without any adverse effects, and so a major problem was thus resolved. From that day onward, for the entire duration of his tapas in the western direction, the Balayogi subsisted solely on his daily glass of Horlicks. On 12th October 1955, Tapasviji Maharaj attained Mahasamadhi at Jhansi, but the Balayogi was not yet aware of this sad fact. At midnight of the same day, as the Balayogi opened the door to the Dhyana Mandir to go for his daily bath, he saw a huge Nag, serpent of the cobra family, with a shimmering amber hue, lying coiled up across the doorway. The moment this Nag saw the Balayogi, it reared up with a loud hiss and, spreading its massive hood, began to sway to and fro, intently watching the movements of the Balayogi. Now, it is an inviolable rule in the cult of the yogis that when faced with any obstacle in their path, they may either remove it or they may avoid it by going around it, but they must never be deterred into turning back, particularly if such action smacks of fear. Thus it happened that when the Balayogi found this Nag barring his path, he calmly looked around for a way to circumvent it, but there was no way he could do so. Finally, finding no alternative, he stepped on the coiled body of the serpent and walked across. That, of course, was asking for trouble, and with an angry hiss, the Nag bit the Balayogi on his left thigh. Undeterred, the Balayogi proceeded to the well and had his bath. When he returned to the Dhyana Mandir after completing his bath, he found the Nag still there coiled up across the doorway. Once again, he had no alternative but to step across the Nag in order to re-enter the Dhyana Mandir. And this time also the Nag bit him. The second bite was on the big toe of his right foot. Unperturbed by what happened, the Balayogi closed the door of the Dhyana Mandir, preparatory to resuming his samadhi. But by this time, the poison of the two bites had begun to take effect, and before he could take up his asana, he fell unconscious on the wooden platform. The Balayogi had earlier informed those looking for him that during the current phase of his tapas, they could enter the Dhyana Mandir only on the third Saturday of every month between 7 p.m. and midnight for cleaning and other purposes, and to receive specific instructions that the Balayogi may wish to convey. On all other days, a glass of Horlicks was to be slipped in through the window. Nobody was permitted to enter or disturb the Balayogi in any way. The third Saturday of October 1955 was yet 4 days away, with the result that the Balayogi kept lying unconscious on the wooden platform all these days without anyone coming to know about it. Finally, at 6 p.m. on the fourth day after the snake bit him, which also happened to be the third Saturday of the month, the Divine Guru appeared and aroused the Balayogi from his unconscious state. The Balayogi sat up and resumed his usual asana, but he felt extremely weak as a consequence of the ordeal he had just gone through. At 7 p.m., Mother Parvatama and other members of the committee formed to look after the Balayogi entered the Dhyana Mandir. They found the milk of the past 4 days lying untouched. When they inquired from the Balayogi the reason, he conveyed to them by signs all that had transpired. He was then informed about the passing away of Tapasviji, and this news must have saddened him because he had developed great regard and affection for the venerable saint. The coincidence did not escape him that he was bitten by the Nag on the very day which Tapasviji attained Mahasamadhi. A point of digression here. By the repetition of the Panchakshari mantra, the Balayogi had undoubtedly obtained immunity from the venom of snakes and other poisonous creatures. But this Nag was no ordinary snake. It was the same Nag that hangs around the neck of Shankar Bhagavan in the form of a garland. When Shankar Bhagavan gave darshan to the Balayogi at the conclusion of his tapas, the Balayogi recognized the Nag and pointing to it, he told Shankar Bhagavan that this was the serpent that had bitten him. At that, the Nag hung its head in embarrassment. The Nag had obviously been sent by Shankar Bhagavan to test the yogi's fearlessness. Continuing on, throughout the entire period of his tapas of the western direction, the Balayogi continued to suffer from various ailments of the body. He could disregard these when in samadhi, because during that period he was unconscious of his body and its aches and pains. However, when he emerged from samadhi state, he became acutely aware of the pain caused by these afflictions, and this quite naturally caused him distress and ashanti, lack of peace. This ashanti had been aggravated by news he received from time to time of the passing away of friends and relatives and of various troubles being suffered by them. The Balayogi therefore decided that the best way of mitigating the suffering was to reduce the period when he was out of samadhi to the barest minimum, and to the extent possible to cut off contact with the outside world. With this in mind, he conveyed to his mother and to the members of the committee looking after him that he was passing through a difficult and crucial phase of his tapas, and hence he wished to be left completely undisturbed. He instructed them that if they found his body decomposing or emitting of the stench of death, then they should inter it and perform the last rites as prescribed for a yogi. Otherwise, he should be left strictly alone. Having sent them away with these grim instructions, the Balayogi shut himself in the Dhyana Mandir, and notwithstanding the extreme agony of his body that he had to suffer, he resolutely resumed his tapas. As was customary with yogis, when the Balayogi went to the well for his midnight bath, he used to carry with him his kamandalu, or water pot, and his yoga danda, or forked arm rest. One night, when he was halfway through his bath, a very old man came and asked the Balayogi to give him some water to drink. The Balayogi discontinued his bath and poured out water for the old man from his kamandalu. When the old man had drunk his fill, he asked the Balayogi his name. The Balayogi motioned with his hand that he did not know. The old man then asked the Balayogi to leave him home. The Balayogi then again conveyed by signs that this was not possible. Suddenly the old man flared up. Why do you keep making these signs? Why don't you speak to me? Come, you must accompany me to the village. With these words, he grabbed the Balayogi by the arm with surprising strength and began dragging him toward the Balayogi's former house in the village. This placed the Balayogi in a quandary, because due to the intensity of his tapas and because of the various illnesses that he had suffered, the Balayogi had barely enough strength left in his body to attend to his daily bath and other needs. He could hardly hope to resist this amazingly powerful old man. In desperation, therefore, he seized his yoga danda, and with all the strength that he could muster, he struck the old man a blow on his arm to make him release his vice-like grip. The yoga danda broke into two on impact, and at the same time the old Balayogi momentarily lost consciousness. When he recovered a minute or so later, he found that the old man had disappeared. Thinking no more of this incident, he completed his ablutions and returned to the Dhyana Mandir. To his surprise, he found the other half of the broken yoga danda lying on his tiger skin asana. The Balayogi then realized that the old man had come to test his resoluteness and strength of purpose. Some days later, once again at the time when the Balayogi was having his daily midnight bath, an entrancingly beautiful girl approached him at the well and requested for some water to drink. As he remained absorbed in contemplation at all times, it did not occur to the Balayogi to inquire what a beautiful young girl was doing at that time of night all alone at the village well. He simply drew some water, filled his kamandalu and poured it out for the girl to drink. All this while the girl tried in various ways to engage the Balayogi in conversation. But the Balayogi did not respond. She then tried various artful ways to get him to break his mauna and speak to her, but she was equally unsuccessful in this. With an apparent show of disappointment, she left the place, and the Balayogi, having finished his bath, wended his way back to the Dhyana Mandir compound. He found to his surprise the same girl standing on the path and barring his way. He tried to skirt around her, but whichever way he tried to go, she would run and playfully bar his way again. Nonplussed, the Balayogi went around and entered the compound from the southern door. As he approached the Dhyana Mandir, he heard the rhythmic and pleasing tinkling of nupur, or bells tied around the ankles and the waist when dancing, coming from within. Somewhat puzzled, he opened the door, and to his surprise and consternation, he discovered the same girl standing inside in dance pose. A strange luminosity appeared to emanate from her, which filled the inside of the Dhyana Mandir in a glow of light. Bathed in that light and standing in that graceful mudra, the girl looked captivating and divinely beautiful. Suddenly responding to the beat of some unseen choir, the girl broke into an ethereal and disturbingly alluring dance. By now the Balayogi had realized that this was another test he was being subjected to. So, ignoring the girl and her dance, he quickly sat down on his asana, closed his eyes, and withdrew his mind from external awareness, and was soon absorbed in samadhi. The above incident took place around 24th May 1956. The next night, the Divine Guru appeared, and the Balayogi related to him all that had happened since his last visit, particularly dwelling on the strange visitations of the old man and on the previous night of the dancing girl. The Guru simply smiled on hearing all this. He then told the Balayogi that he should now merge his mind in continuous samadhi and only emerge from it when Shankar Bhagavan came and aroused him from the samadhi state. He further added that Bhagavan would appear before him in about a month's time. After the Divine Guru left, the Balayogi told his mother to fetch the other members of the committee. When they arrived, he informed them that he would be in continuous samadhi for the next 1 month and that he was not to be disturbed during this period under any circumstances. He then sent them away and locked himself in. By now, he had completed well over 9 months of his tapas facing west. During this period, his body had been racked with illness and afflictions of all kinds, and it was by now on the verge of collapse. The skin had cracked open at a number of places, exposing deep fissures and wounds that used to bleed regularly. In fact, his body had reached the limit of its endurance, and it was a wonder that it kept going at all. But the woes of the body did not disturb the serenity of the Balayogi's mind, for he had long ago realized through direct personal experience that he was not the body but the indwelling Atman, which was not afflicted by the afflictions of the body. Firm in this realization, he continued his tapas totally indifferent to whether the body survived or whether it perished. But the worst was by now over, and the goal was in sight. He sat calm and unconcerned on his asana as directed by his Guru, and passed into deep Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Siddhi of the western direction. Nirvikalpa Samadhi continued without a break for 1 month. Then around 25th June 1956, the Balayogi felt a light tap on his person which slowly brought him back to consciousness. As he began to become aware of his surroundings, all he could see was a dazzling light. He could not quite decipher whether the light came from himself or was without. He was sunk in untellable peace and bliss, and he might have once again passed into samadhi when he felt another light tap. This time he opened his eyes, and there standing before him was, in Nataraj Swarup, were Girija and Nateshan, that is, Gauri and Shankar, dressed in the garb of jungle folk. The Sakshatkara of Gauri Shankar caused divine bliss to well up within the Balayogi, making him speechless with joy and wonder. As the Balayogi looked on with unsatiated gaze, Shankar Bhagavan said with an approving smile, "I have been trying to wake you up, but you would not get up." "Is that so?" replied the Balayogi, somewhat surprised. "I knew or felt nothing at all until you tapped me." Then both Nateshan and Girija sat opposite the Balayogi on his tapas platform and talked to him for a while. Finally, Shankar Bhagavan told the Balayogi that he should continue his tapas until he completed the full period of 12 years. After that, he would tell the Balayogi what he wanted him to do. Natesh and Girija then disappeared. Tapas of the southern direction. The Balayogi obtained Sakshatkara of Gauri Shankar and Siddhi of the western direction on 25th June 1956. The next night, i.e. 26th June 1956, the Divine Guru then appeared, and told him to sit facing south and to commence the tapas of the southern direction. He then vanished. The month-long samadhi from which he had emerged had cured all the bodily affliction of the Balayogi, and he was now at ease both in body and mind. He had to face no serious obstacles, and his tapas continued undisturbed. However, serpents of the Nag family had dogged his path from the very beginning of his tapas and continued to do so during this period. He encountered a Nag one midnight sitting across his path, and when he was proceeding to the well for his bath. Unconcerned, he picked up the Nag and threw it aside. In this process, the Nag bit him in the hand, but the venom had no effect on the Balayogi. Sakshatkara and Siddhi of the southern direction. The tapas of the southern direction continued for a little over 10 months. In May 1957, the Balayogi again had Sakshatkara of Shankar Bhagavan, and this marked the attainment by him of Siddhi of the southern direction. With the completion of the tapas of the southern direction, the Balayogi attained Dik Siddhi of all 4 directions. According to the Yoga Shastras, it required a minimum period of 4 years to attain Siddhi of any direction, which means it would take a minimum of 16 years of tapas to attain Siddhi of all the 4 directions. As compared to this, the Balayogi attained Dik Siddhi of all 4 directions in little less than 8 years, which in itself is an indicator of his spiritual eminence and of the perseverance and resolute will in doggedly following the Tapo Marg in accordance with the directions of his Divine Guru.